So it's homeschool planning season. I know a lot of people are kind of freaking out because there's a lot to do. It can be really overwhelming if you don't know where to start. Today we're going to talk about how to get started, why we're doing this, realize that all of the hard work, all the details, every single thing that we're needing to plan and think through is really valuable. It's really worth it, and it actually makes the whole picture of our homeschool workflow and really be a beautiful place to live, and it actually gives everyone the opportunity to thrive. So one way we can look at our homeschools is kind of like a composer. So if we take a piece of music and we go, okay, I love this piece of music, but we don't sit there while we're listening to it and like analyze every single note and every single cymbal and drum. Like, we don't think about that. We are just getting to enjoy it. And that's what we want for our children. We want them to receive the piece of music of the homeschool plan that we've come up with as something to enjoy, something to kind of bathe over them. But we're the composer. And when Johann Sebastian Bach began composing his pieces, at the top, he would say, Jesu Juva, and that means Jesus, help me. He would write that on the top of every single piece he ever composed. And a lot of his pieces were pieces for worship. He would go through, he would work. Sometimes he would labor into the night, labor for days. You know, he's got this thing in his head he's trying to get out there. It would take a while. It's not just going to happen, especially when he was new and when you're new. It takes a minute because you have to think through and really study, and you have to make mistakes and then go back and correct them. And then at the end of each of his pieces, he would write Soli Deo Gloria, which means glory to God alone. And what this can tell us is that that entire piece, he needed God's help. He needed support, but he was doing it. He had to write every single note. He had to decide what rhythm to do, where the notes are going to go. Also for us, as we are working, we are going to go through every single block on the timetable. We're going to decide, okay, this 30-minute chunk, what are people doing? Okay, great. Now this 30-minute chunk, what are people doing? And it's a lot of work. It is not instant gratification. We have been trained to think quickly and try to be efficient. This is not efficient work. Planning your homeschool, you can find tools that will help you move along a little bit further down the road, such as using the CMEC, which is like what I do. But you still have to make adjustments for your family. It's still relational work. Relational work is messy and it takes time, and you're the only one who knows your child. You know whether or not your child has an area that they need to be challenged because they are doing really well in that area and they need to be strengthened there. Or you know what area your kid needs support. And hey man, let's try to find some things that are maybe in the form below you in this way. And then as we are cultivating the homeschool plan, then I really see it almost like planning for Christmas, where I'm picking and thinking through each child and what do they want? What are they doing? What are they into right now? How can I encourage them? And then all these books, all these ideas, all these experiences, all of the extra things that really enrich the homeschool life, I can present that to them and say, I thought of you. I was considering what you loved, and I was considering where you are and how you needed to be strengthened. And we're not completely customizing it just with their interests in mind, but we are taking that relationship into account as we plan our year so that we can encourage them and so that we can have a home that has an atmosphere of joy and delight, and that we're presenting these ideas over the course of a year. And the other thing that's really cool about planning your whole year out like this is that you're basically building a train track. And that train track allows you to not have to make all these teeny tiny decisions all the time. You're able to just flow and make adjustments throughout the year. And just a note on the timetable. So there's two things I would start with. If you are new and starting planning, or if you're feeling overwhelmed, two things to consider. You might start with your timetable. And to do that, you may want to take a week or so and just jot down what time you get up, what's going on with the baby, what everybody, what time is breakfast starting, and just really observe, step back and kind of figure out, okay, what are we doing? And then once you have that established, then you can start building out your morning and how you want that to look like. Now, another thing you could start with, depending on where you're at, is your family work, your morning time, that morning basket idea. And what I did was, since I already had my timetable pretty much established, I went through and I went, okay, well, these are the subjects that I'm going to do with everybody. Geography, American history, citizenship, like those are the ones mostly. There's art, some other things that I'm doing together. And then I knew I didn't have to look at all of those sections for each person's year. I could just ignore like poetry. I could just ignore huge swaths because I kind of had already figured out what poetry we're doing. So I didn't allow that to get like overwhelm me. And then I was able to just focus on the independent work or the independent reading, or if they're younger, like which readings I need to read aloud. And that really helps streamline everything for me. Another thing to consider as we are doing this homeschool planning, for me, it's going to take me 4 to 6 weeks. So this week, I'm just working on getting everybody's book lists in order, and they're just like on an outline. And then I have to kind of take a break. I'm going to go practice the piano. I'm going to go outside with my kids. We're going to do some awesome stuff. And actually, if you want some ideas for what to do with your kids when you're outside, I have a Screen-Free Kids Get Outside Challenge. And I'll link it in the description below. I've got a ton of ideas about what to do when you're out there, what things to look for, those kind of things. So hopefully that'll be fun for you this summer. And when we do get outside, when we do break up our day, when we practice some music, when we read a story to our kids in the middle of the planning, we're staying connected. We're living in a way that we enjoy. Instead of feeling like I'm gonna just grind this out, it would be nice to have a more restful approach. I hope your homeschool planning is going really well right now this spring. Let me know how it's going. Leave your comments below. Don't forget to check out the Screen-Free Kids Get Outside Challenge down below. See you next time.